Tonight's talk is on the Rawlicious lifestyle. How many of you guys are here for the first time? Okay, cool. Quite a few. How many of you have done our one-day seminar? Quite a few too. I just got back from Durban when I did a seminar. That was my first one this year, and they absolutely loved it. We had a great venue. I do them in Joburg, Durban, and Cape Town. When's the next Cape Town one? Yeah?
Seminar?
Yeah.
27th of October.
27 October. It's a little way. Something's got to take away. Okay, can you just get somebody to close the door? Awesome. Okay, so this evening's lecture is on the Rawlicious lifestyle. How many of you have our book, Rawlicious? Okay, so you likely have read some of what I'm going to go through tonight. I get to go a little bit deeper into the information, and obviously for me the main purpose of coming is so you can ask questions. So make sure you do have ask your questions. The only bad question is one that you go home with unasked. There is no bad, wrong, or stupid question beyond that. So please do ask. But let me begin with this slide. You want to see the board, it's a little low, but yeah. Okay, so what we have here is a slide it's a photograph I took a few years ago, and for me it was a really nice, obviously, meal, but the occasion made me realize how grateful I was for everything that I had in my life, and how when you live within an attitude of gratitude, stuff just becomes more meaningful. Somehow it just changes your whole experience of life. Even if you think you don't have anything to be grateful for, I guarantee it, you start writing a list, you'll hit 100. The fact that almost everyone even just walked into this room, certainly something to be grateful for. And I recommend it as a process, just to, every now and again, just make a list. Especially if you get yourself into a negative state, feeling a bit overworked, tired, emotionally down, just make a list. What am I grateful for? And it's amazing how that just lifts the mood. So in this slide, I was really grateful for the fact that we have amazing raw food and superfoods available, where this kind of technology, this information, these foods have not been available up until this point in time. It really is a new way of eating, a new way of being. The food situation on our planet has reached a point where we literally have access to the best food ever, and at the same time are blasted with the worst food ever. So we really have a choice of which bus you'd like to be on. And so tonight I'm going to give you a perspective on the Rawlicious bus. This, by the way, is wheatgrass up here. Who's had wheatgrass shots before? Almost everyone. That's brilliant. So this is probably the greatest superfood for us land animals, wheatgrass. And then you've got raw chocolate, which is another amazing superfood. And this is a raw vegan cheesecake made out of mainly nuts. So that recipe is in Rawlicious, the book, so you can have a look at that. And just said, I love my life. That's a great mission statement to use. Even if you don't believe it, just say it. The amazing thing about the subconscious mind, it takes whatever you say in and believes it. It's very powerful but very stupid. So you can really program it to give you anything you want. So in this case, you can just program it to say, to make things happen that make you love your life. And some people often say, well, isn't that just fooling yourself? I'm like, well, we fool ourselves about all the other garbage all the time. Like this recent article that came out in the newspaper that says organic food wasn't better than conventional food. More fooling, If you want to believe what's in newspapers, TV programs, TV news, radio news, and other such equally crazy hallucinogenic substances, I might get into that a little bit later on, because the whole research study has been thoroughly disproved already, but no one would normally read further than the initial newspaper article, which is where they really get people. So this evening I'm going to go through a couple of perspectives on food and nutrition. I try and keep it as simple as possible, mainly because it is simple. Health and healthy lifestyle is simple. It's not complicated, and I think one of the reasons people avoid healthy living is they think it's going to be really difficult and really complicated, and having to change radically. And often it's just a matter of adding a few things and understanding a few key principles that gives you the leverage to make a change. And that's what I'm going to attempt to do tonight. So the first slide is one that you will see if you have the Rawlicious DVD. Anyone have that? A few people. I draw this in sand on Noordhoek Beach. So it's what I call the Elements of Health House. And I'll just run through each element quickly. And this is a foundational perspective on a healthy lifestyle. Earth is the physical elements. It's physical nourishment, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, phytonutrients. Physical stuff that you get from food that makes your body. Literally your cells, your tissues, your organs. Your body is made from the physical nutrients you get from the food you eat. Which is why obviously eating organic is better, because it contains more of those things. When we're talking about food, we're looking at clean food and nutrient-dense food. Those are the two primary things for me. Clean, what is that with clean food? Is food not clean? Pesticides, chemicals, herbicides, fungicides, larvicides, you name it, they put it on there. I'm going to give you some statistics later. Shocking statistics. So clean food, and then nutrient-dense food. So often people use this term, healthy food. And it's like, well, what does that mean? You're not allowed to use the term anymore. It's illegal in this country. Literally, it is. I had to take the word healthy off all my packaging. So, for me, nutrient density equals healthy. So nutrients are things like vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, enzymes. The more of that stuff you have in the food, the healthier the food is. So those are two key things. Then we move on to water. Water, we're looking at clean water, primarily clean water, and then you can go to living water next. One of the things I could have said with food as a third point is undamaged food. So clean, nutrient dense, undamaged. Because if you spend all that money on buying organic food, which is nutrient dense, and then you go and destroy the nutrients by using things like microwave ovens, high temperature cooking devices like ovens or frying pans, well, you've lost the nutrients. I'm going to get to that later. Water, clean water. Does anyone still think that tap water is clean? Anyone? Well, to be honest, South Africa's water, especially Cape Town's water, is some of the cleanest in the world. All the tankers that come into the harbour empty their water before they come in so they can refill, because they reckon our water is so good. So it's definitely better here, but they still add things like chlorine. The water is still not filtered to a very clean level. I put filters on my house at the main so that every tap in my house is filtered, because if you bath in chlorinated water, you can absorb more chlorine than you will drinking chlorinated water all day long. Why don't we want to drink chlorine water? Anyone? There's only one real reason. Chlorine is antibacterial. That's why it's in the water, to kill bacteria. Problem is, it also kills the bacteria in our guts. And probiotics, also known as good bacteria, are our allied army of defense. And if they die, we start to die. It's one of the first things in the degeneration cycle of disease, is the loss of good bacteria. You should have 100 million per millimeter. Most Westerners have 5 good bacteria per millimeter. So it's a major issue. So that's really the main reason why you want to get the chlorine out. Then living water, what's up with that? What is living water? Yeah, it's water that has a molecular density that makes it easy to absorb. Now, I'm not going to get into technicalities, but basically, when you've stored water a long time and pressurized water in taps, it loses its tight bond of H2O molecules. So it's very difficult for our bodies to absorb it to be properly hydrated. When you start drinking things like natural river water or spring water, that water has been energized by the movement of the water, and you then become more hydrated by the water. There's usually a spring where you're living. You can check out findaspring.com to find one in your area. Does anyone go and collect spring water in Newlands? Okay, quite a few of you. The water at the back is from the spring in Newlands. You can pop by there and you can chat to people, because there'll be a queue likely. It's all very gezellig. So that water for me is the most ideal for our bodies. The Earth's figured it out. You know, you can get a filter, you can spend money on all these devices, but the Earth's already figured it out. So I filter my water at home for bathing, but I don't drink that water, even though it's filtered. I still will drink spring water as a first. Okay. There's obviously lots of different types of filtration methods. Jeez, I mean, you can do a bit of research on that. I just prefer the very simple carbon filtration method, because I'm not going to be drinking it. I just want most of the garbage out from my bathing. There are other ways of filtering too, but often the devices are very expensive. Okay. Filtration methods are actually cheap. If you guys have not heard of Health Makers, do we have leaflets at the back? Health Makers. You can contact our office. I mean, we can get water filters that are literally a fifth of the price that you would pay in retail shops for water filters. I've heard of people paying 10 to 15,000 rand for a water filter that would cost you about 3,000 through us. So make sure you check that out. Then we go on to air. So air is what we breathe. And we obviously breathe all the time, and it seems to be automatic. But there are two key things about air too. Firstly, clean air. Why do we need to think about clean air? Well, in Cape Town, when the wind doesn't blow for a little while, you can see why we need to think about clean air. Because all the smog sets in. Most major cities in the world are permanently in a smog cloud. Breathing in all of that every day, day after day, eventually will cause issues in your system. So we're going to make sure we're at least getting into areas that have air that's been cleaned. What cleans air? Trees. We have forests. Go and walk in them. Plant trees. Get indoor plants. It's the best way to make sure you're getting clean air. You can spend money on filters and ionizers and all sorts of stuff for your house or your office or your car. Me, I like to get into the forest as often as possible. And again, we're lucky here because we get the southeaster, the dodgy smoke is gone and we have clean air for a little while.
And live in Fisher.
Is the air good in Fisher?
Very clean air.
Very clean.
Every day.
Every day. That's probably why it's the lowest crime rate, I think, in the country. It's the clean
longest
air.
living rate.
Longest living rate too. Toxins make you angry. Equals aggression equals crime. As soon as we cut out that stuff and we add in the green juice, it's like, oh, crime? Nah. That just sounds like hard work. It's like, harming people? What a crazy idea is that? Anyway, we might get to that later. So that's air. Oh, and then the other part of air is breathing. Do we breathe deeply? You know, in the Western lifestyle today, it's so busy, go, that it's all shallow, upper breathing. Fight or flight. Adrenalized. If you just, for a moment, you can do it. Actually, let's do it together. Just breathe into your stomach. When you breathe in, your stomach goes out. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And let it out. And one more time. And let it out. You can immediately feel your body starts to relax. You notice that? It's incredible. It's one of the most powerful ways that we can adapt our experience in the day. Literally shift our body process is by breathing deeply. So if you're stressed, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling hungry, if you're feeling irritated, whatever it is, just sit for a moment and breathe. 4 or 5 times is all it can take. And then suddenly your whole body just relaxes. Because by breathing shallowly all day long, you just tenser and tenser and more tense. And eventually you blow at someone. They're like, whoa, what happened? Anyone had that recently? No. So that's air. Now out of those 3, which would you say is the most important for our health? Well, let me put it to you another way. If you stopped eating food, how long would you live for?
A month.
A month at least. Have you stopped drinking water?
4 days.
3-4 days, yeah? If you stop breathing?
A couple of hours.
A couple of hours, wow. A couple of minutes. So, as far as I'm concerned, breathing is where it's at. And it actually, scientifically, has been verified that we get our primary nutrient from breathing, which is oxygen. Primary nutrient. So that, for me, is the direction that we're looking at for health. Air, then water, then food. Now, we're going to focus a lot on food tonight, because it's one of the areas people get it very wrong. But remember about the air and the water too. What's up with fire? This is not the fire people used to cook their food with. This is the fire that's generated internally when we exercise. So moving our bodies. If you've got great food and water and air, but you sit on your bum all day long looking at a computer screen, your body can't be healthy. Why? Because we're designed to move. We also have something called the lymph system. And the lymph system needs you to move in order to drain toxins out of your body. So if you're not moving, your body is not detoxifying. So it's just building and building and building toxicity. One of the greatest ways of draining your lymph is through just bouncing on a little mini trampoline. Does anyone have one of those? So you just do this on a mini trampoline for a couple of minutes a day, and it drains the lymph so that you get a flush of toxins. Now I know some people who are so toxic that they can only bounce for about 20 seconds before they get a headache. Yeah. People are very, very toxic today. Otherwise, walking, yoga, getting on your bike, literally anything you can do that moves your body is great for draining your lymph. And then, what about pumping iron? It's the other type of exercise. Is that a good idea? Well, look, you don't actually have to pump iron. I mean, you could do your own sit-ups or push-ups, just some kind of resistance exercise. Why is that beneficial? Yes, you guys know, bone density. So it's been shown now that calcium supplements calcify your joints over time, because it's chalk. If you eat chalk, you must expect that your joints will eventually seize up. If you want to build bone density, you do it by pushing against things. Okay, so you've got to do some kind of strength exercise, and that can be yoga. It could be walking upstairs, some push-ups and pull-ups. Aerial yoga is a great one. Anyone heard of aerial yoga? You hang in the sling, and then you do all these crazy moves in the sky. Google it. That's fire. So that forms the foundation of the house. If you're working on that foundation, that's a pretty strong foundation for health. Then there is definitely the roof, and without a roof, well then weather's just going to pour in and wash everything out. So we want to look at our thoughts and our emotions. You can have great food and water and all that kind of stuff, and if you're angry, how much benefit are you actually getting from the nutrients? Very little. Anger is an acidifying emotion. If you are constantly thinking negative thoughts about yourself and other people, how healthy can your body be? From a certain perspective, thoughts and emotions are more important than all the others put together, because they're so powerful in shifting our state. Luckily though, if you work on these four, it starts shifting your emotion and your thinking for you. So often people say, well, how do you change your emotional responses? How do you change your thinking process? I say, well, drink green juice. Huh? What is green juice going to do to my mind? Well, you're going to have to try it. Because legally I can't say anything. Actually, I can say whatever I like. I just can't write it down on the back of packaging. Has anyone found that? That their emotions and their thinking just shifts when they get into a more alkaline state? Okay, it does affect. You see it in children. You give children lots of sugar, lots of trans fats, lots of dodgy dairy, and what happens to them? They go mad. They literally go mad. So we know that food affects our thoughts and emotions. Now there are also really good courses and workshops you can do to help you release some baggage that you may be hauling along with you from childhood, from, even adulthood. People hold on to stuff like, this person did this to me like 30 years ago and I still can't stand them. And it's like, that's 30 years ago. I mean, come on. Even if you were found to be insolvent and you had to pay millions of rands, 30 years is all they only remember for 30 years. Then they forget about it. It's like, let it go. It's so much lighter to let it go. Anyway, that's just my perspective. But check it out. So any questions on this Elements of Health House before I start moving along? As a summary, eat nutrient-dense, clean, undamaged. Drink clean living. Air clean and breathe deeply. Fire, cardio and strength training. Pretty simple stuff. So if you're feeling like you a little bit tired, you're not feeling your best, you're feeling like you're getting ill, just think about which area you haven't been putting attention on. And you quickly find, oh geez, I haven't actually done exercise in 2 weeks. Oh, I could be doing something. You know, often people just sit, they don't move. I know I can get so busy doing stuff that I actually forget to do real exercise, or I'm actually breaking a sweat, or getting a little bit tired. And then I just get into the mountains, go for a run, and I feel way better. Okay, so moving right along, let's focus on food for the remainder of the talk.